Hey, y'all. Welcome to Waterbreak. It's good to be back with you. My wife, Water Girl.
Hello.
Her boo, Water Boy. We're eventually, I think next week, we're talking about doing this week, but I think next week we're actually going to start live streaming on Thursday afternoons at 2:15 on our YouTube channel, Twitter, and maybe even Annie's Instagram page if we can figure it out how to all work and everything. So that'd be a great opportunity also to live chat with us, engage with us, ask questions, and throughout the show actually. So be looking to that, and of course the podcast will still drop. That live version of the live show, the podcast will still drop. We haven't figured out what day we might do that. Maybe Friday morning, since we'll do Thursday live streaming. Also, a lot of you guys we really appreciate a lot of the questions we get. Sometimes we get some really complicated questions, and we appreciate those too. We pray over them. RenchMedia@gmail.com. That's where you can be kind of asking us questions, engaging with us. And music's so loud. And then of course, if you guys want to support our efforts, join our Fight Laugh Feast Club, what we call the FLF Pub, and we really appreciate $10, $25, $50 a month, or a couple thousand, just whatever you want to do. And then another way to take action with us is go to our upcoming conference in Dallas Fort Worth area is Prodigal America. You'll be able to meet my wife there too, and me, and Annie's more important than me. And then lastly, we got our magazine just dropped, our latest edition. So if you don't know, if you're new to us or whatever, we do a quarterly kind of theological cultural magazine called Fight Laugh Feast Magazine. This theme this quarter is on Prodigal America, which is what the theme of our conference in Fort Worth. So it's really cool, kind of mini book-like experience with various authors on one topic. I really enjoy our Fight Laugh Feast magazine. You can go to fightlaughfeast.com to sign up for that and everything. So for the show, do you got any opening comments? You got anything going on? No, you don't. Okay.
No, I mean,
do you?
No, I'm a mom. I always have something going on.
Yeah.
But
it's true. We're going to talk about, I guess, strength training today.
Yes.
Something in when I was in college, I think that's the most intense workout stuff I ever did was playing basketball in college, and my strength training was even basketball players, we don't really strength train. Although, I'd say
I don't think that's true.
I'd say where I was at, I didn't really strength train.
Yeah. Your coach didn't have you doing much?
No, he had us. He was old school, and so he kind of had us doing things, but it was like 10 sets of 3 kind of thing, or three sets of 10.
Yeah, backwards.
We do a lot of that, just basic like bench sit-ups. I don't even think he had me squatting.
You didn't have a strength condition. Well, it was junior college.
It was junior. It was JC.
They don't shell out for like a strength and conditioning person.
Some do now. This is back then, the late 90s. They weren't as sophisticated.
You definitely should have been squatting.
I had 3 coaches, head coach and 2 assistant coaches, and then a trainer, athletic trainer for taping up and all that stuff. But that was it.
Yeah. So the coach was running it.
So all my point is, I'm just trying to illustrate that this topic I know very little about. And so I don't really I don't even know what you're going to do.
It's going to be a surprise. Well, I mean, it's a really big topic, obviously, and we get asked questions about it all the time, which is great. I guess when I was thinking about like what direction to take this, because it's such a broad topic and I have so many thoughts on it, it almost makes me kind of crabby because
to think about this topic.
To think about it because so many people are not doing it, and they really should be.
But there's a lot of people in the gym. What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's gyms are full, but if we took like, I don't know, if we just did a poll, there's a lot of people who are not doing any type of strength training, and that can go by different names. We can talk about that.
Okay.
But it's crazy to me, and it's almost.
So what are people doing when they go to the gym?
Well, I mean,
what would you call that?
I'm just telling you, there's a lot of people who don't go to the gym.
You just insulted a lot of people. Okay, you're saying okay.
I'm saying there's a lot of people that don't go to the gym, and there's plenty of people that go to the gym who are like terrified and would rather die than walk out on the actual weight floor.
Right.
And they're just like in the spin, doing the spin thing or on a treadmill or in yoga class. And that's not to say there's anything wrong with any of those things, but there's plenty of people who go to the gym who aren't lifting weights.
I get it. That's like our dog Chief, who
Yes.
constantly avoids me.
It's exactly like that. Like,
And so he
you
goes
are a
into
barbell,
another room.
and
He
he's
goes
like,
in.
I'd rather die.
I'm the main floor.
you're the lifting floor. Chief would rather die than do that. Yeah. So, it's crazy. I guess I would say, as far as the most, in my opinion, the most impactful things that any person, man or woman, any age, really could possibly do for their health, and to improve their health and improve their functionality. Really, the top two, by a long shot, I think I can say, would be really cleaning up your nutrition, like really paying attention and possibly making changes to the things you're putting in your body, and then strength training. I mean, that's they're at the top.
Right.
Those two things are at the top, and
I don't want to do either.
No, a lot of people don't want to do either. And it's funny. We talked in the past about the Overton window. We use that metaphor with regards to food,
fitness and food.
Well, food in particular. I think the context in which we talked about it, and how part of the problem here is that a lot of people think eating mostly real food is like weird, is like what health nut extremist people do.
Yep.
And, one of our arguments has been like, we need to maybe move that window a little bit or a lot, to where that's actually pretty normal.
Yeah.
And I think that it would really help a lot of us if we also moved that Overton window of exercise or just lifestyle, whatever words you want to use.
Right.
And we moved it to the point where it's almost like an assumed thing that you're doing some kind of strength training in your life. And again, we can talk in here in a minute about, different types, what it could look like, because it doesn't have to be, I'm in the gym lifting huge weights for an hour and a half every day. Yeah. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. But like it should be almost assumed, like brushing your teeth is, like eating lunches, like it should just be this regular thing because of how important it is. And because it's almost, it's something that we have agency over, right? Like nutrition, and the way that you move your body, exercise, strength training in particular, you have all the control there for the most part, barring maybe something you're allergic to, barring maybe you were born with a bad knee. But beyond that, you can control that. Like you can't control your genetics. You can't control a lot of other things. But like they're so impactful, and you can actually make that change for yourself, and it's almost free. I mean, there might be some investment up front, like maybe you have to pay a gym membership.
No, people can come pull weeds at my house. I got junk to throw in the back of the truck. I mean, there's a way of integrating it into normal life in some sense.
That's the way people used to live, which is why probably strength training wasn't as needed back then. But since most of us aren't doing that anymore, that's one of the reasons it's so important. But I mean, we can.
Do you think? Go ahead. Maybe think that a lot of people, maybe one reason why they maybe avoid strength training is because they don't really know the. I don't even know how to ask this question, but the everyone knows that if you do strength training, you're going to get muscle, or you're going to get stronger, or maybe you're going to lose weight or whatever. That's kind of the probably common knowledge of it, right?
Sure.
But there's actually chemical benefits going on in your body from your muscles. Especially men produce more testosterone, stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah. So that's one thing it'll do for you.
But I guess what I'm saying is, it doesn't seem to me that people connect some of the strength training to actual inner health of going on your body, just beyond your muscles getting bigger or you're being able to bend over or whatever.
Yeah, that's very possible. And I mean, I think even when I was younger or newer to the game as a personal trainer, I didn't really even make that connection. I was just like, okay, well, you get it's good.
You get muscles, you lose weight,
stronger.
Very cool.
You might get the body that you want, and maybe it helps you prevent injury, and that was kind of it. But it really does go a lot. Like
deeper
than that. I mean, just to list a handful of things. Yeah. Obviously, strength training. And I like to use the word strength training because I think it's the best broad umbrella term. Obviously, lifting heavy weights falls under that. And I would argue that's a good goal for many of us, most of us, to strive towards, even though that might not be where we start. Okay. Right. And that's a good thing to understand that, the nuance of that. But even just body weight, I mean, working with your own body in space is a version, and a decent one, especially if you're just starting out, of strength training. So just dialing in your air squat, your push up, your pull up. There's actually a lot you can do to improve your strength, right? And build at least some lean mass even without weight. So that's why I like to use the word strength training, because there's just, I don't know, it's broader. I remember it's more inclusive.
When I started, lightly working out again, doing push-ups and, air squats
You're
and all
a good
that.
example of that. Yeah. We didn't.
At home, I started about 4 or 5 months ago doing this every day, or most every day. When I started doing air squats, I mean, I probably hadn't done an air squat in like 5 years or something.
Oh, a long time. Yeah, a long time.
Except for during the summer when I go out to work or whatever, I'll work. But I started doing air squats, and for the first 2 or 3 weeks, I was complaining to my girls basketball team that I coach.
I know, you're so sore.
And I was complaining. I was like, I'm still sore, and it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was crazy how.
Any stimulus to your muscle that it's not used to, that's going to happen.
Sore. Yeah,
and it's just a good reminder that just because maybe you can't get into a gym for an hour and a half a day, that doesn't mean you can't do anything. Right.
Yeah, right.
And I think that is one of the problems. It's kind of this defeatist type thing. But just to talk about some of the benefits, you want to do that? Talk about some of the benefits of strength training. Obviously, some of the most obvious ones are just increasing your strength and your functionality in life. And it's okay. And I'll pause on this one because this drives me crazy. This is part of the crabbiness. Okay. I'm so crabby about this. Especially, I think the Overton window needs to move. I think it should be like this sort of like, okay, of course you're doing some kind of strength training to take care of your body. I mean, like let me ask you this. If someone gave you a car, and it was a nice car and it was brand new, and the rule was, this is your car, but it's the only car you're going to have your whole life. What would you do? Like, how would you take care of it? You know what I mean? Like,
well, first I want to reject that analogy because it has a lot of implications on how I live my life right now in this body.
You know where I'm going. But I mean, I like analogies because I just think we are so disconnected sometimes from really, really obvious truths. Like, would you put crappy fuel
oil
in it? Would you not check the oil? Would you basically just not maintain it? Or would you be like, okay, this is the only car I'm going to get. I want it to perform well now, right? I also want it to last as long as possible, right? Everyone who had their head on would just take the best care within their power, right? They'd put the right fuel, maybe the highest quality fuel.
And so, but here's what the analogy breaks down for you: is I take care of your car.
Okay. What he means
you don't take care of our car Tahoe.
See, now it's not analogy. Now
you don't check the oil.
I don't. So it does.
Your analogy just ate yourself.
I don't take care of my car or my phone, as I've been
apparently.
I don't really take care of.
That's funny.
Well, that's job security.
We all have our as a husband. That's my job security. Fantastic.
I always need you because I don't take care of my car. But anyways, and so here we are given these bodies, we only have one. And I just think as Christians,
that's a good analogy.
As Christians in particular, especially like, the post-millennial brand that we are, we're all about like, get out there, be productive, take over, spend it, have the kids, start the businesses, think generationally, think long-term. And like, how are we doing that and saying that and believing it? And I believe it too. I think it's great. But then just not even considering, okay, what are just some like baseline things? Like, I'm not talking about crazy biohacks here, just like baseline things.
Just like air squats or something.
I mean, just anything. For a lot of people, it's like anything that you can do to take care of this body that God's given you. And one step further, it drives me even more crazy if we bring it down to talking about moms in particular. Now, of course, strength training is important for everybody, guys too, for some the same reasons and for some different reasons, I think. But for moms, I mean, what are we thinking? Number one, we're sending them out and it's like, okay, just do the mom job. Just good luck. It's going to last about 20 years. It's going to be really stressful. You're not going to sleep much. It's super physical. You're picking things up. I mean, it's like super physical.
You're having babies.
And then you add in that layer of having kids. And for some women, not just one, right? You're dealing with pregnancy, delivery, and then doing it again, and then doing it again, and doing it again. How is it not, for lack of a better word, normalized that moms are doing something on the regular to take care of their bodies so that they can do this super physically taxing job? And I just like, moms come in to the gym or come find me all the time and they're like, fifth baby in, and they're just
no abs.
A disaster. It's this is not a referendum on you moms. I know, I mean, you guys are working hard and you're exhausted and I know there's just so much on your plate. So this is not a referendum on you at all. But I hope that it's, at least we can be thinking
encouragement.
And just like just culturally, I don't know how we got here where it's like, we're pro doing all this physical stuff, having all these things, but we're not even thinking about like, okay, how can I help my body?
How can I prepare my body, help my body be able to handle this better?
Totally. Handle it better, do it better. And that's even just talking in the immediate, and that's not even taking into account, okay, and where is this body going to be in 10 years if I don't put some work in now, right? And we all, so again, it's crazy. It's crazy to me. And so this is more of a meta thing right now where it's just like, I just think the whole Overton window, the whole
way of thinking
cultural
about this
assumption should shift so that when you're a person with some sort of robust or consistent, maybe it's minimal effective dose, but at least consistent strength training routine in your life, your friends don't look at you like you're some sort of exercise nut.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. Like, and I still think there's a lot of that. It probably depends on what circles you run in, but like that's still sort of the thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just like eating the whole food. Like I think it really needs to be normalized. Yeah. Because it's that important. Yeah. It's that important. So anyways,
that was a long pin. You said pin. That was a long pin.
I know because I said strength and functionality. I pinned it. And then I already kind of touched on this strength training. Building lean muscle mass is tremendously correlated with your longevity and the quality of that, right? And one word that researchers use for people as they age is frailty. And it's a big issue the older we get, just whether
your bones get weaker.
I mean, it's it's for a lot of people, it's actually what causes them one way or another to die earlier than they need to, right? If you're frail, you fall, you break your hip, you go to the hospital because you're laying down, because you broke a bone, then you get pneumonia, then you die, that kind of a thing. So it's going to affect your ability to be a fun grandparent. It's going to affect your ability to live unassisted, to still be a blessing to other people when you're, in your 70s. And it's funny because like, I feel like, obviously there's exceptions to this, but like on average, when everybody's in their 20s, they're all kind of the same. Like, it's like you can work out a lot or not work out a lot, but generally you're all kind of fine.
Yeah, right. You can get away with a lot.
You can get away with a lot. Nobody's health is tanked too bad. And then, by the time you hit your 30s, like mid 30s, like somebody's really taking care of their body one way or another starts to kind of look like this. And then someone who's not, I'm not sleeping as well. Or, my doctor said I'm pre-diabetic. And then 40 and then 50. And then by the time you get to like 60 and 70 and you
veered away.
I mean, either you look like this
pretty
over here and you look, years older than you actually are. You are frail. You are weak. You have all these health problems that again, you could have probably mitigated of your own accord, or you're over here living your best life with tons of good, years full of vitality still ahead of you. Right. That's it. That's our trajectory. And we just, it's like pick one, and again, there's some things you can't control, like a cancer diagnosis or your genetic, but these things you can control and nobody's really talking about it.
and I mean, I guess, in a way, an encouraging way to think about this is, is Doug uses coined the term productivity is just to, don't feel like you have to get in and go 100 miles an hour.
In fact, don't.
I've actually kind of gotten a little bit used to doing push-ups or, air squats or whatever every day. And it's just kind of part of my little morning routine. And I get in. It's not, I'm not doing like significant amount of push-ups. I'm doing like maybe getting to 100, but I've seen benefit of it just doing it consistently over time for 4 months. And I do. I mean, like, it's weird, but I do feel a little stronger, even though, I make fun of myself in college, but I did used to lift weights in college. Not like I should have done better, but like, doing these, so I know what it means to be strong. I know what it feels like your muscles. You felt it. So in the same way, just doing these sit-ups, it's already kind of felt it in my body, kind of feeling some of those.
It's a great feeling. And again, like in the perfect world, on paper, would it be great if we could get you in the gym, loading your muscles more? Yeah. And maybe down the road when we have time.
What's that?
I know we don't, that's our running joke. When we have time, maybe we'll be able to do that. But for now, it's way better than nothing. And you're doing it and it's very plausible. And you're feeling, even from that small stimulus, you're feeling the effects, which is awesome. And you've seen your push-up go from 10 at a time to, what are you at? Like 50?
Yeah. I knew, not to brag, but I could do 50 in one set
pretty dang good
of 50.
That's pretty good.
And I got there,
like in 3 months.
But I'd say I probably could have pushed myself harder and got there faster too.
Totally. Totally.
So.
Okay. Some more benefits, kind of along the lines of what you were saying, some of the things that people might not know about or not think about, is that, and this is really important. It basically, the more muscle you have on your body, the more of your body weight that is lean muscle mass, the higher your metabolism is. And that's really important. That's really helpful now. And it becomes more and more important the older we get. Right.
Which is, that's an area where I hope what I'm doing with sit-ups and push-ups and air squats and all that, like, my metabolism does pick up because I want to eat more. I like to eat.
Who doesn't?
A good life.
Who doesn't? And it's such a, well, and I mean, some of the reason I'm using the word metabolism very broadly here.
Okay,
I mean, just for lack of a better word, but really one of the reasons that is true is because muscle is pretty much your biggest, best glucose disposal site. So especially if you want to be able to enjoy carbohydrates, you need to have muscle
100. That
will take that sugar or that glucose that you just ate and burn it up for energy. That's what you want. It's also your main disposal site for fatty acids also. So regardless of what sort of fuel you're eating, your amount of muscle is what's going to really mitigate how much food you can afford to have. And it is such a sad life. And I see women do this more often than men, where you take the road of like, I'm just going to do cardio exclusively and I will just not eat very much. And that's what these girls do. It's like, it's 1,400 calories a day for the rest of my life. I'm not even that hungry because my metabolic rate is so low and I'm basically skinny fat, right? Even if you're not like overweight, your ratio of lean body mass, as in muscle in this case, to fat is really, really poor. And it's a terrible way to live. It's just a terrible way to live. You're weak. You can't eat anything. You can't
pick up anything.
You just can't do anything. And it's just sad. And I really can't, I wish we could normalize in terms of health goals. I wish we could normalize rather than this obsession with weight. And like weight loss. Now, granted, if someone's like 400 pounds, they do need to lose weight, right? I know. So I'm not, that would be an exception. I'm not talking to those people, but just for the average Joe, rather than thinking I want weight loss, I really wish people would reframe it in their head and say, I want fat loss in particular, because just weighing less or just getting thinner, getting on a GLP and only eating 600 calories a day and then being like, look, I'm 20 pounds lighter. 30 to 40% of that is lean mass, lean muscle that you lost.
You lost good stuff.
You lost good stuff. And that's not, that's not the way to go. And I've worked with, I'm sure people have heard this, but it's true. I've worked with so many women over the years where they come into me and they're like, I want to lose weight. But really what they mean is I want to be smaller or I want to like the way I look in the mirror more. And what we do is we go and we build some muscle. They end up eating more because they can, because of the muscle after the fact than they were before. The scale does not change, but their body completely reconfigures and they're perfectly happy. They're perfectly happy. They're like, who cares about that number? It doesn't really matter. It's about
so they weigh the same, but maybe they lost some fat and gained some muscle.
Exactly. Sometimes you even weigh more. Because muscle is dense and it weighs a lot. So I just
we need to do a podcast on why you should gain more weight.
Why you should just the scale should go up. Obviously it depends on the person. But I wish there was so much more of a focus of building muscle as opposed to just being obsessed with basically just the scale going down. It's a really frustrating, sad way to live. Anyway, so yes. Also,
this is going to take forever. The way
I know. We can speed up.
You keep pinning things.
I keep pinning things. So I told you. I had so much I wanted to say, and then I got crabby because there's so much to say. But
I think that I was just thinking of. I wrote this down. I think the topic of the show should be: don't be crabby about strength training.
Don't be crabby.
Don't be anti-crabby.
Don't be crabby. Definitely crabby about it. It increases insulin sensitivity. Bone density, huge one for women. This would be put in under the category of thinking long term. Women, once we hit menopause, the instance of osteoporosis goes way up. So like this is your chance, right? And I'm not, it's not like it's never too late. You can start when you're 20, you can start when you're 70, but the earlier the better.
Right.
And even if you're not having problems now, if you're like 30 and you're like, I feel fine. I think my bones are fine. I'm not overweight. I feel fine. You will thank yourself later if you build now or you work on now what we call a muscle reservoir to kind of fall back on and dip into in your later years. And that's especially true of menopausal women.
Porosis.
Yeah. Also, so first you would start with osteopenia, which is just like where your bone density is kind of like pre-diabetes. And then osteoporosis is like you got brittle bones. And that's, talk about frailty. Really bad. Really bad. Big for women in menopause. Obvious one, decreases the risk of acute or chronic injury. And again, like why are we not, you know what I mean? Weightlifting is basically free. You might invest a little.
Give me an example of acute or chronic injury.
Oh, I mean, so something, well, maybe injury is not the right word. So like it's going to decrease your odds of going and playing soccer and just blowing out your ACL, right? And one of the number one reasons women in particular are so prone to ACL, MCL, and meniscal tears is because their hips, their glute medius is weak. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons a lot of athletes are doing a lot of banded work as they should. And that's just true. So that would be an acute injury. Okay. And obviously nothing is 100% guarantee, but just the odds of you avoiding injury like that, which can be absolutely catastrophic. You know what I mean?
Especially at age 40 or something like that. You know?
Absolutely. And like, it's not, I mean, it's catastrophic to the body, but also just like if you threw your back out and you had to be flat on your back in your bed for like 2 weeks, what would even happen? Like it would be so bad. Like you can barely keep up with, I don't know. It would be so bad.
It'd be pretty difficult.
And then okay. So like, remember when I went to Mexico to visit Ross?
For 7 days?
It was 7 days and it turned into 10 days.
Yeah, it was horrible.
I was having a great time visiting my sister who was supposed to be having a baby, but it was 3 extra days. And like, so I was out. I wasn't injured, but I was out and you were dying. Like you were
being
dying.
without my wife for 10 days.
I mean, like a lot of people's households and lives, like it requires 2 healthy, high funcking bodies. Like you cannot be out, you know? And again, we just control the things we can control. If God decides to have you get in a car wreck, get in a car wreck. But it's like, come on, we could at least be strengthening our muscles in an intelligent way to reduce the odds of that kind of thing happening. So that's what I mean. And then with chronic stuff, I mean, like somebody, the people I work with all the time are just like, oh, my back always hurts. It just hurts all the time. I can't clean a toilet. We actually have to hire someone. I can't pick up my baby. Sometimes it goes out really bad, and then I'm on the couch for 3 days. And then other times it just kind of hurts. It hurts if I'm in the car. It hurts. And you know what would fix that a lot of the time?
Strength training.
And specifically, training your core muscles, probably opening up your hip flexors. There's things that you can do to fix chronic unhealth, chronic pain that so many people are in. And I would say in a lot of cases, it's needless. Like you don't have to be. And it's just funny that most of us just sort of settle for that. Just like, it's just how it is. I can't hike with my kids, but whatever.
There's nothing I can do about it.
You could hike with your kids if you, like put the work in and kind of change your mindset a little bit. So anyways, those are, there's a longer list than that, but since we have to keep going, those are some of the many reasons
we can just pause here for
that we need to strength train.
Look at Baby Wonder. She had her baby.
Oh, Anna had her baby.
My assistant here across Baltic had her baby.
Do you know the name?
It's right now. Shepherd William. I tried.
How handsome.
I tried. Handsome little buddy. I tried for 2 months, multiple different ways trying to get the name out of her. I'd be like, I'd go up to her. Yeah, she kept it a secret. I'd go up to her and I'd be like, oh man, how's the pregnancy? How's your little, what's his name doing?
That's so funny.
So anyways,
she didn't fall
good
for
them.
I'm so glad she was overdue. So that we're glad that happened. Okay. Well, do you want to talk a little bit about like different ways to strength train and
I think that'd be yes. Let's talk about some of the cause I think, you kind of start off the show a little bit like, and we've talked about this multiple times on the show where people are like scared to go into the gym or whatever, Gabe's the main floor of my house with my dog kind of thing. And so a lot of this is just either just kind of getting over it and dispelling the rumors, right? And just getting comfortable. I mean, and I do think part of this is like someone hadn't been in the gym for 30 years.
Oh yeah.
It's like, you pull up Matt Lindland. He's a UFC fighter. He's a friend of mine. He owns a gym in Portland. And he was telling me a story. It's like, there's guys who come to our gym and they've been pulling in our driveway for 2 years, and then finally they walk in and they get into it and they're like, man, why didn't I do this sooner?
Right. Well, I mean, it's funny because we've talked about this. I feel like a lot of the intimidation or whatever is mostly just made up in our heads because everybody in the gym is really nice. But it is a very real human thing to just be like, I don't. And then the longer you are out of it, the more you are scared of it, but you just got to start somewhere.
Right.
And that, I guess maybe that's a good place to start is that you just need to start somewhere. Like, I think that one of the many things that keeps people from doing any kind of strength training is that they are kind of doing that thing where they're not allowing more than one thing to be true in their head, because it can be very true, and it often is, that you just need to start with very, very basic light movement, right?
Yeah, right.
But also at the same time, that's not where you want to end. You want to grow to the point where you can squat with a barbell on your back. You can, do a full deadlift. Those are great goals for most people.
Right.
Obviously, there's exceptions if you're born with a, I don't know, you're dealing with an injury or something. But both of those things can be true at once, and nobody is expecting you to go from the couch to a 200-pound back squat.
Right.
That would be insane.
Right.
And that's not what anybody should do. So, remember, you have to start where you're at, and then it's a very slow grow in terms of strength, endurance, all of that. I would say it is a great investment up front if you just don't know anything. If it's just like, I don't know anything about it. I didn't do it in high school. I've never done it. I don't know how to strength train. I don't want to hurt myself. And that's one thing that women say a lot more than men. Men are more willing to just jump out there and do it wrong. And they do every day. But I think it is worth the small investment up front to work with a trainer, either, face-to-face or online, just to learn the basic, just concept of strength training, to make sure that your technique is good, to kind of know what your trajectory should be, and just kind of have all those things answered. I think it is totally worth it. Obviously, I'm biased because I am a personal trainer, but it's really, really important. We've just talked about how important and impactful strength training is. And I wouldn't really call it neutral, in that you can either get out there, especially the heavier you go or the more intense you go, you can get out there and you can hurt yourself, or you can do yourself a lot of good. It's rare to just sort of be neutral in the middle. So it's definitely worth learning to do it right. And the more you know, the more confident you will be. And that is always true. Like, the more you know, the more likely you're going to be to go out and do it, because you're going to be like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I had someone who really knew what they were doing tell me what to do. They taught me. I feel comfortable. My confidence is higher. That's huge. So I will say that, make the investment up front. In the big scheme of things, it's a very small investment. I mean, and it's way cheaper to work with a trainer or join a program or something for a little while than it is to pay surgery bills, monthly, drug fee. I mean, it's way cheaper. So just do it, you know what I mean? Or pay for physical therapy or whatever it is, because you didn't do all this stuff. So generally speaking, you can kind of look at your strength training as either, I tend to encourage people to strength train in a functional manner. And I like to differentiate this, because I think when people think of strength training, a lot of times they think of bodybuilding, which there's nothing really fundamentally wrong with bodybuilding. If there's some dudes listening who are really into that, that's fine.
If you're doing it for, your own vainglory, it's awful.
True. Yeah, you could be vain. You could be vain doing that. But also, I just want to note that it is also just sort of a style of training where you're more training, and there's overlap, of course. Like, a lot of bodybuilders squat, and a lot of people who are functionally lifting also squat, right? Because it's a great movement. It fires up a lot of different muscles.
It's a very practical movement.
Totally. But if you're bodybuilding, your kind of paradigm is going to, for the most part, be, okay, what movements in the gym can I do that are going to isolate and fire up particular muscle groups? So it is naturally more of an aesthetic thing, which, again, I don't necessarily have a problem with. But it won't translate, that kind of training won't translate over into real life as well. It still will. I mean, a lot of bodybuilders are quite strong. But for the most part, I like to train people and kind of push people more towards a functional style of training, which again, there will be overlap, but functional training is more training in a way, training movements, and kind of just a paradigm of like, okay, what are the kinds of things that we have to do in our life on the regular, and what are movements that either mimic that, so we're training for real life, or stabilize all the right joints and things so that when we do that movement, we don't hurt ourselves, right? Because that's what happens is that moms bend over, pick up a tub of laundry, and they put their back out. Some dad, I mean, it's like, we've all done it. You trip on a curb and
I pulled my ab multiple times.
Yeah, your ab. So a functional approach is what I recommend most normal people do. And even just having that paradigm or that mindset can actually be helpful as you sort through, okay, what program should I pick? What trainer should I pick? What kind of movement should I pick? So if we're talking functionally, and I'm going to just steer us that way because I think for the most part, I think you're going to get more bang for your buck in real life training functionally. You're going to be just looking at movements under really broad categories. And I think this is also really helpful for people, because don't look at when you look at a program or you look at it out at the gym and you see people just doing all these random things. Don't look at those things as individual movements. It'll be very overwhelming to you. And there's 10 billion options, right? look at them under broad categories, which are going to be your squat, your hinge, and in terms of your upper body, mostly a push and a pull. And then if you're getting really granular, you might throw a rotation in there.
Okay.
So those are the different kind of types of movement that you want to see in your week.
Right.
I would say in some capacity. And again,
in your week of working out.
Of training, exactly. Yeah. You won't necessarily get each one of those in every single workout. And depending on your frequency and your experience level and how much you're training, you could have an entire day that's all dedicated to squat. You could do a big heavy squat and then do a bunch of single leg stuff and and then the next day you could be like, I'm pushing today, or you could, that would be pretty hardcore. Or you could be someone who's just like, okay, I'm going to touch on my squat here, maybe some pushes, maybe a rotation, and I'll make sure I hinge and I pull over here. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it completely depends on what kind of volume you can stand, depends on where you're starting and also what your goals are. But that's a really nice framework. And once you get those categories, all the movements start to just be like, oh, okay. So any kind of squat is a squat where it's predominantly flexion through the knee. So it's going to be more anterior or front side of the body, quad dominant. And that any kind of split squat, any kind of lunge, anything that's single leg, your backside's working, but it's quad dominant the more flexion you have through your knee. So you just think, okay, there you go. Those are your squats. And then when we move into the hinge family, this is anything where there's the predominant movement is a hinge through your hip. So your deadlift, your RDL, your kettlebell swing, right? Where it's a lot more posterior dominant, glutes and hamstrings, right? And so
that's also a pull too, huh?
Yes, you can technically probably say it either way.
Okay.
I've had better luck cueing wise, talking to people, differentiating between a hinge and a squat, because a lot of people have a hard time. A lot of times people's kettlebell swings kind of look like a squat and people's deadlifts kind of look like a squat. And it's like, no, we're training two different sides here. So let's differentiate them. But you're right. You could actually totally do that. And then in pushes and pulls, you want to make sure you're pushing straight in front of you. So that could be a push-up, that could be bench press, that could be a dumbbell press. Even more importantly, I would say you want to be pushing straight overhead also, right? So dumbbell press, military press, any kind of, those are both pushes and they're going to be more anterior dominant. And then just as much, if not more, you want to make sure you're pulling, right? So that's all your pulls, your lat pull down, your pull-ups. Exactly. Anything that is physically pulling. I don't know that anyone, no one loves
2.5, basically 6'3", and pulling my body up is no fun.
I know. No tall person.
And I see some sort of midget 5'2" woman, who can do like 40 of them, and I can't even do 5.
I mean, it's true. It is not. It is a small person's game, but still a great functional movement.
Especially if I fall off a cliff and I need to pull myself back up.
I mean, especially or just like in the past show,
I need to save myself.
Like, you fall in the holes, like any hole.
Yeah,
you just fall,
and I need to be pulled out of it.
If you can't get out of it, I'm going to be like, what? Yeah.
No, I totally see the value
He's in the
of
hole.
it. I need to pull myself. No one can pull me out of the hole.
No one can pull you out of the hole. Yeah. Well, you know what? It is, maybe this is another helpful point. One of the reasons that a pull-up, for example, is so valuable and functional is that it's what we call a compound movement. And a compound movement is any movement that moves you through more than one joint at once, right? So that just means, number one, we tend in life to move in a compound way. Like it's kind of rare that we would do a single joint movement. When we do, it's not, so maybe here, I'm like bringing this to my, that's
but
like,
that doesn't take much.
That's what that would be simulating like a bicep curl, but more often than not, we're pushing, we're pulling, we're rotating, we're squatting, we're hinging. So that means we're moving through more than one joint. So it is more similar to functional life movements. And secondly, just in terms of getting a stimulus on your muscles, you're getting way more bang for your buck because you're moving more muscles because you're moving through more than one joint. So that's another reason that pull-ups have just been a tried and true little darling of everybody in the gym. Yeah, because you're just getting more bang for your buck. And one of the things about bodybuilding is it's really time consuming. Because you're doing a lot of isolated.
You said bodybuilding means strength building.
Bodybuilding. So that was the first style that we talked about, and it's not the one that I'm pushing people towards. But that's one of the downsides of it is that it's a lot of isolated single joint movements, right? Curls, tricep extensions. They work to really like make one muscle group pop. But man, you're in there forever, and it's just really time consuming. So and not as functional. So,
I just don't know how you do bodybuilding without being vain.
I think a lot of people...
Maybe there's a category for it.
I think there's plenty of men out there, especially, and women too, who that's just the style in which they were taught to lift.
Sure.
And at least they're lifting. And I think some people find it really fun. And so if you have a good attitude and you're not being super vain and you have the time, I guess, I just don't... so many like regular moms and dads just don't have time. And you really would be better off just going more compound and more functional. And plus, I just love that idea of it translating to real life. So it's not all about us. You know, it's also about, okay, how can we translate this into our life? So what
That's
else?
it.
What else? What else?
That's it. You're going to be done there.
Well, we don't have to be done there. I mean, we can talk about different types of training, strength versus hypertrophy versus endurance. People usually have questions about that. And it's actually pretty, and this is, I actually do want to talk about this because there's a whole group of people out there, and that's kind of who I was being crabby at the start, who aren't doing anything. Just not doing strength training, and you should be doing something. So please start. But then there's this whole other group of people who are the people in the gyms or maybe at home, wherever they are, and they are strength training. But I would say they are doing it in a way, I don't want to say that it's wasting their time. I don't think that's true. I think any amount is good. It's better than nothing, right? But a lot of people are doing it in a way that they are not getting as much out of what they're doing as they could be because they don't understand this concept right here. Okay. And so if you want to train to get stronger, which I recommend, the driving force behind strength is intensity. And that's a term that exercise scientists use, but it doesn't mean like, oh, my heart rate is so high, or, oh, I'm so whatever. It simply means what percentage of your max are you operating at, okay? So you need to be going, in other words, for strength. Your rep scheme needs to be anywhere from probably 1 to like 5. So low. And
high weight, low rep.
Very high weight, low rep. High weight that most people, casually strength training are not hitting, right? Because you could do 5, but if it's at a weight that's way too light for you, you're not going to recruit much of that, whatever muscles you're working, those muscle fibers, right? So we need the intensity to be very, very high. Another way of putting that is you should probably be at 80% of your max or higher in a very low rep
within that 1 to 5 rep.
Yes, exactly. Like it needs to be really heavy. So for that reason, I love strength. It's my favorite way to train, but it's the most advanced because a beginner, you can't
start there.
You can't load a beginner up like that. Like you don't
pull a hammy.
Oh, you'll pull everything. And they don't, so you have to kind of work up to that. But I want people to understand that really is where strength is built, is really low rep, very heavy weight, 80% or higher of your max.
So I grew up in I already said this, but like my weight training regimen was, 10 reps this, 10 reps that. 3 sets, stuff like that.
3 sets of 10.
And so that was, what was that doing? I'm following you on the 1 to 5 rep thing. It makes sense.
Yes.
Is it just more about stamina? Is it more about, what is what I did do?
Yeah, well, it's the next thing on the list. Actually, what did I did do?
What did that did do?
Done do. Okay, and let me add one more thing in about trying to get stronger. Is that it's mostly the adaptation you're actually looking for there is neurological. That's how strength is built. It's a more neurological adaptation in your body and in your muscles. So you need very long breaks. So we're talking like 2 to 5 minute breaks if you're really lifting seriously. Like if you're at like, okay, I am at a true 85% of my max and I'm trying to hit 4 to 5 reps, you need really long breaks. So it can be time consuming.
Interesting.
But that's
I could have a cigarette between reps.
You could. I mean, actually, I struggle. So I usually go to the gym and I love just train for strength. I for a woman, put on muscle actually pretty easily. So I'm more of an anomaly in that way, I would say. So I prefer to train for strength rather than size, which is what we're going to get to in a second.
Strength rather than size.
But hypertrophy, and we'll get there in a second. But because of that, it can take a long time. So you end up doing less movements. And again, a good argument to do your compound lifts, your deadlift, your squat, your push, your pull, because you're firing a lot of different muscles, getting a lot of bang for your buck. And then I bring work. I'll bring my computer. I'll bring stuff to do during my breaks
and work between,
because it's it's so hard to wait that long, but you have to. Or you can't do the next set, like if you're really lifting like you're serious. So that's strength. It's awesome. I recommend it, but it's something that you'll get to later in your journey because you have to have the right mechanics and your body needs to go through some adaptations before it can handle that heavy of a load. And that's what drives strength. The second way to train, this is really popular, is hypertrophy. And that's just fancy talk for making your muscles bigger. Right. And so, and I would say men and women can certainly benefit from this style of training. And a lot of women, when they hear that, they're like, "Oh no, I'm going to be a she-man." And I just am here to tell you, ladies, that
It's really hard for you to be a she-man.
Really hard. It is really,
Right.
really hard to become a she-man. And some of the girls who are really serious weightlifters and know what's up, when they hear women say that, they actually get kind of annoyed because they're like, you couldn't do that if you tried. It's really hard to get big. Again, unless you're just a complete genetic anomaly, right? Which most women aren't. So lifting to actually increase the mass of your lean mass for women and for men, especially if you're a woman your lean mass is low, which for a lot of women it is. It's a smart way to go, and it's a safer place to start. And that is exactly what you were doing with the 3 sets of 10. Very classic, still I would argue fairly effective. 3 sets of like 8 to 10. You can build muscle. So again, we're talking about hypertrophy here. And I also want to say this, there is overlap. So like if you did 3 sets of 10, you can still get stronger, right? It's kind of a continuum, it's not like 5 reps ends, no strength here, no hypertrophy here. Not really. It's just a kind of a continuum, but people like to hear the rep scheme. So anywhere from like, honestly, like 8 to 30 reps, you can build size. The key is what drives hypertrophy is volume. So it's just total reps and sets. You got to get enough reps in, you got to get enough sets in, do a little bit of damage, right, to those muscles, because we're actually trying to stimulate growth, right? Actual growth. And also the key is, and this is where people mess up, is that it needs to be a max effort within that rep scheme. Right.
So your last rep, your 10th rep, you can barely get it up.
Maybe even your 8th rep. You're I'm struggling. And again, getting to that point, you can't do that as a beginner. There's neurological, there's structural, there's stability, things that adaptations that have to happen. So you have to be patient. At the start, you're going pretty light. You're just learning new patterns. And it's funny because when you're a beginner, I think I've seen studies that have said all the way up almost to a full year of your training journey, you make what are called newbie gains, where like every day you PR because your body is just like, woo, we're just getting better every time. Like you're neurologically improving, your stabilizers are waking up. So it's like PR.
What's PR for our audience?
Personal record.
Yeah, there you
go. PR. So you do
so
have
every day you're getting a new PR.
Yeah, because you just get faster, you get stronger, but at a certain point, everything kind of slows down. And if you want to add 5 pounds to your bench, you got to really work for it. So, you do have that. And I think that's fun. It makes starting out a little more fun, and it helps you handle the soreness a little bit better. But the key is that a lot of people mess up with hypertrophy is it has to be a max effort within that rep range. You can grow doing 30 of something. It sucks. But why do you think those CrossFit women are as big as they are? It is not because they're doing really heavy low rep work. They're doing max effort, high rep work. 21, 15, 9, that kind of thing. So that's
how you build muscle.
That's how you get big. So a lot of people are actually, I think a lot of women in particular are confused about actually.
So high weight, low rep.
Low rep.
You aren't going to build muscle like you're doing with,
you won't.
High rep, low weight.
Yes, but if that high rep is at
it has to be at that 8 to 5 or max weight.
So if you're going for reps of 15, that squat will be a different weight than reps of 8 because it'll be lighter, but it has to be a max weight for you.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Right, and that's how you build. And you do need to get volume in. You're going to see more reps, more sets, and you need a little more recovery time in between muscle groups. So if you hit shoulders or legs on Monday, you might want to give it a couple days to just let that body's healing and rebuilding and growing process happen before you do it again. Strength, you tend to not get as sore. So you can actually train almost every day if you want to. You don't have to. 2 sets a week would be great. But this is why Olympic weightlifters, they're training every single day. Some of them will train twice a day, which is crazy. And if you lift like a bodybuilder and you're sore all the time, it's like, how are you doing that? But it's because it's a neurological adaptation that they're going for. The reps are very low, the weight's high, and their breaks are really long. So interesting, right?
I love that.
Yeah, interesting. And then really there's just one more. There's muscular endurance. I don't push people towards this as much unless they have a very specific goal or maybe they're having to work out at home and they're limited in the amount of weight they can move around. So we're having to get creative. But I want to make sure that you guys understand this. When I say muscular endurance, it's exactly like the little trigger sessions that you've been doing, where it's a max effort, push-up, right? So you're doing 50. That's incredibly high rep, right? That would definitely fall in the endurance category rep scheme wise, but you're doing as many as you can. You're not picking up pink Jane Fonda 5s and doing 15 of these, not even like feeling it, not
yeah.
even being close to a max effort, and then being like, well, I'm training for muscular endurance. That's what I mean. Those are the people that are to some degree wasting their time.
Yeah.
Right. You need
Jane
to have.
Fonda's been so bad for the fitness industry.
I feel like I throw her under the bus a lot. She might be very nice. I don't know. But I just like this, that there's that whole movement of sort of just doing junk sets where it doesn't really matter.
You're wasting your time. You aren't really getting any value out of it.
Or at least, I hate to say wasting your time. I mean, at least you're moving, right?
Yeah.
You're getting some sort of stimulus on your muscles, but our muscle fibers will only fire, or your body will only recruit them if they are forced to.
Right.
So that's the point. And again, when you start out, you can't do this. You really are going to sort of do the Jane Fonda thing. We're like, I'm just going to be careful. I'm going to go through the movements. I'm trying not to hurt myself. I'm trying to learn the skill of this movement. Compound movements they tend to be a little more, there's a little steeper of a learning curve. Like a full squat, there's a lot of things that can go wrong as opposed to like a quad extension machine. So that's another reason people tend to lift like bodybuilders. It's a little simpler. There's fewer variables. It's a little easier to not hurt yourself. So I get that. But you just need to start really light, learn the skill, hire that trainer, join that program so you know you're doing it right. Be consistent over time. As soon as you're able, get to the point that within whatever rep scheme you're operating in, it is a max effort. And if you do that, you do not need to be at the gym for an hour and a half every day. You can pick 3 to 4 movements, and you can just wring a lot of good work and a lot of good stimulus out of that, and then you can get out of there.
Right. And it all boils down like keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't start stupid. Don't start where it's where you can't finish.
Exactly.
That's why I like what I'm doing right now. I'm just like working out at home, and
I love what you're doing.
I like that, and I'm so busy I can't even go to the gym. Maybe eventually I'll get back in the gym
later when we have more time.
Maybe later.
Yeah.
But especially for older men and women, like just start where you can.
Start where you can.
Light body weight. Push-ups, sit-ups.
Find
air
a local
squats.
gym. Find a trainer.
Annie, we installed a pull-up bar. In our house. So I walk in. That's actually one of the first things I see. It's kind of hidden. It's kind of buried, but I know where it is. It's just there.
Shaming you.
Yeah.
Get on me. Do a pull-up. I should also mention that I just started actually for this very kind of thing. I just started a woman's group strength training online option. So if you are interested, you can hop over to, I guess
RenchMedia.
Yeah, RenchMedia, or you can just hop on Instagram and I can get you info if you're interested. But so far we have a decent sized group of women, and I'm just pushing out 3 very basic lifts a week that you can do in the gym or at home with instructional videos.
And then you have a private Signal group that goes as part of this, a bunch of ladies.
We can troubleshoot so that all these ladies who are just starting out can have that guidance, learn that technique, and then just form some great habits for life. So come find me if you're interested in that.
So wrenchmedia@gmail.com or message her on Instagram.
Find me on Instagram.
And you can find out more about that. That's a fun little group of ladies that you guys go on.
I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about it.
Online training. Took you a long time to get there.
I know.
I appreciate it.
I know.
Thank you guys for tuning into the Waterbreak. RenchMedia@gmail.com. Annie's Instagram. Those are the best places to take action with us. And I hope you guys enjoy Waterbreak and be ready to make a couple adjustments as we start live streaming here in the next couple of weeks. So thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.